Sure. So let me do, hey Jessica. I'll give you a heads up while we're waiting just a minute. We are also going to talk about Halloween. I don't know if that was in the advisory. Yeah, so I know. Send the alerts and the alarms to call headquarters. We're talking Halloween. We're going to be the new Chihuahua.
Get their rodeo. Yeah, there you go.
I like the colors of their team, you know, mustard and brown. You can't go wrong.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Okay, so there's a little bit of an echo. Is that the mics, or is this just where we're... Okay, well, okay, it's just the venue. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and get started. And we have a couple of things to touch on today. And they're all on the lighter side of life during Corona and all the challenges facing our city. But they're a little bit fun, and we also got to share some good information about them. So we're going to talk about Halloween, and we're going to talk about balloons. So this is a little bit of a sort of fall, October preview update. And we'll hear from our Parks and Rec Department and our COO on those things. And so let me begin by sharing a little bit about Halloween. Now, I want to start by saying, as mayor, I do not control Halloween. That is not in the powers of the office of the mayor. So I don't want to give any indication that somehow the mayor is making calls on all sorts of details around Halloween. But we are going to give guidance. And I hope folks kind of heed the guidance. And we're also going to revise that guidance as we get closer. Obviously, Halloween is the end of October, so we do have some time. So here are some of the things that we're thinking, and these are informed by our Emergency Operations Center, our Environmental Health Department, and the CDC. And so at the city, first and foremost, we are going to be very, very mindful of safety. And we're going to do our part to keep everyone safe. That does mean things we can control that we are going to cancel. So the Zoo Boo is off. This was actually a very popular event, and unfortunately, again, just because of Corona, it doesn't make sense for a number of reasons. Also, Halloween in Old Town, we're just going to have to cancel. And again, I'm talking about the city-sponsored Halloween, so obviously if an individual who lives in Old Town wants to do Halloween, they're within their rights to do whatever they would like. But these are city-funded programs and organized programs that we're not going to be able to do. The biggest one, I think, and most popular is the AFR's Haunted House. This has grown over the years. And of course, last year we had a much improved and way bigger, thousands of people going to AFR's Haunted House. It was out the west side, and we're going to have to cancel that, of course. And so I think it's for obvious reasons. I can speak to why, but all because of Corona, because of mass gatherings, because of potential for spread. Haunted houses are inside, you know, all of these things. So again, I'm sure the state's going to have guidance down the road on sort of different aspects of this, but we did just want to give folks a heads up. Now, there's one exception that actually I think is more relevant during Corona. And as you know, I've tried to provide activities for families and things that just we enjoy as a community, even during tough times. And I think there's one we're going to be able to pull off. It's the trunk or treat. And that happens right here at Balloon Fiesta Park. And it's basically a drive-up deal where kids get some treats put in their trunk. And usually the workers and so forth are dressed up and so forth. So trunk or treat, we believe, can still happen in a COVID-safe way. We'll have more on this as we get closer. But I think it'll be safe and fun and a great way to utilize the Balloon Fiesta. You know, you can get your Corona test in the morning out here, and then you can go get your trick-or-treats in the evening. So we're using the space as best that we can. And I think we can also handle a very high volume of cars, of course, for something like that, in a safe and fun way. So there are some CDC suggestions that I want to pass along. And of course, everything that we hope happens is socially distant. We hope that they're COVID safe, low risk, and we want to remind folks that, you know, Halloween masks don't count as masks unless they meet all the various mask guidelines. And we are, I think, very, very importantly, we're asking neighbors if there is, you know, some sort of trick-or-treating happening. If the lights are off and people aren't answering, they don't want you at their house. So let's just respect how individuals are going to handle this on their own private property. In many ways, as we always do in Halloween, just to be extra sensitive. And of course, things like carving pumpkins, decorating as a family, and neighbors are very low risk, no more risk than you would have interacting with your neighbors anyway. But things like an outdoor costume party is a moderate risk activity that, again, should follow the state guidelines in terms of size, distancing, and so forth. So I think there's lots of ways, you know, we can celebrate just like we did for different things like Labor Day and things like that. But certainly, you know, trick-or-treating in general does present additional risk, and so it's not something we're really encouraging generically. Trunk-or-treating, on the other hand, should be a nice way to accommodate that. Of course, I have a 5 and a 7-year-old, so this is like paramount to our family, and just want you to know, and for all the parents out there, you know, dressing up with your kids and going one door over for trick-or-treating is still probably a really fun and exciting idea. Okay, so again, more on this as we get closer, but we've been getting a ton of questions about this, so I wanted to spend a minute on it, and also want to mention that you know, risks just to consider at this point. You know, situations can always be made safer by using individually wrapped goodies and lining them up instead of passing them out. And again, we're not going to formally regulate this. These are just good recommendations. I think, you know, I would also just say that we want to encourage everyone as we get closer, just really pay attention to the guidelines from the CDC and the state as we get closer. Okay, so with that, let's move to something in the beginning of October. And of course, we know that in our city and actually internationally, there's one thing everyone expects in Albuquerque in fall. It's our Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta. And for us, you know, this is literally where almost 100,000 folks come here to eat and to enjoy the balloons, and it's something that we all have fond stories, I think, of, whether we've just been to one balloon fiesta, or for me, given my age, I'm probably at 42, and so it's something that you know, growing up chasing balloons on my bicycle and all that's involved with Balloon Fiesta is amazing. And I think for us, and with our partners, of course, at the International Balloon Fiesta, we want to do as much as we can. We want to celebrate what we can. We want to be proud of the Balloon Fiesta, and we want to enjoy it locally. But of course, the actual fiesta, as you know, has been postponed. And so what we're talking about today is what we really can do. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on what's been canceled. That's old news. But we are able to do some things. And I know the Balloon Fiesta organization, the nonprofit that's contracted to run the Balloon Fiesta, has spoken to some of the great things they're putting together in terms of virtual programming and even merchandise and so forth. So that's awesome, and that's in the works. What we are announcing today is sort of our version of, again, a series of things that we're trying to do to carve our own path. So the question is, in Albuquerque, what do we do with our traditions during the time of COVID to keep us all safe, but still enjoy those traditions? And I think the 4th of July was a very good example. We had dispersed fireworks that, at least half the city could see from their house or from their street, and it was very well received. It was safe. People seemed to appreciate it and follow the rules around it. And also, I think everyone really appreciated the fact that we did something on the 4th of July. That was the role model for what we're announcing today with respect to Balloon Fiesta. And so we believe that Albuquerque families still deserve and should see balloons in the sky in the fall. And so if our balloonist partners and local folks are able to pull this off, along with us to just help coordinate, they will still see balloons in the sky in the fall. And so this is going to be a great thing for our city. And so I think it's also a reflection of the fact that we are the hot air balloon capital of the world. And we want to make sure that that's the case even during a pandemic time. Because it kind of goes without saying, but like ballooning is a pretty socially distant activity. Other than the folks that are actually involved inflating it, which are typically family and friends in sort of a small group anyway. This is something we really can deliver on. So this year, from October 3rd to 11th, we are putting together Balloon Fall Fest. So this is sort of a version of Summerfest, but it's Balloon Fall Fest. And this is something, I'm going to wait for that helicopter to go past us there. Looks like a medical one. Go ahead, yeah. So Balloon Fall Fest is going to occur from October 3rd to the 11th. That's the traditional Balloon Fiesta spanning 2 weekends. It is obviously weather dependent, just like Balloon Fiesta. And so know that all of that still applies. And of course, it's up to our great pilots who live here. This is just pilots and balloonists who live here and are part of our community. And this is a way to really showcase that we also have a great ballooning culture, like right here, literally year round, not just during Balloon Fiesta. And so all these events are going to be held with COVID safe practices in mind and in compliance with the current public health order. And so, for example, right now there aren't going to be any spectators allowed. But what we are going to do is launch balloons from as many parks and golf courses and open spaces as the pilots would like to. And so we're hoping that on the weekends and even during the week, the sky will have many balloons all over town. And I think that is one thing that I'll just wait for another aerial display for helicopters to fly over. It's not APD, by the way, I believe. What is, I think, going to be possibly a little bit unique and fun is, over the years we've consolidated where balloons launch from, right? And depending on where you live, you may or may not get balloons over your house. Depending on how many balloonists we get in the interest, this could be a little different. You might see balloons all over town. And so I think that's kind of a silver lining, if you will, something special that folks can look forward to that actually even during Balloon Fiesta, they may not normally get to see. So for details of this, let me hand it over to the one who does Parks and Recreation and then did fireworks and now is doing balloons. Director of Parks and Rec, Dave Simon.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor. We couldn't find a stronger supporter of the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta than Mayor Keller. So some of the imperative and drive to make sure our citizens and Burqueños enjoy, balloons comes right, from the mayor's intention and commitment to do the best we can in difficult times. So thank you for all that support, Mayor. I also want to just recognize our partners in all things that involve balloons in Albuquerque, and of course the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta, AIBF, and also our friends and colleagues here at the Balloon Museum, the Cultural Services Department. They're represented here today by Deputy Director Hakeem Bellamy and the Museum's Director Nan Maslin. Thank you so much. We're actually on the museum grounds, but we work together as a team to bring these things to you. So we're very excited to have the opportunity to continue our city's tradition of celebrating hot air ballooning this October. And as the mayor said, we'll be holding several hot air balloon events at the beginning of October, all with strictly COVID safe practices in mind. Specifically, on the mornings of October 3, 4, 7, 10, and 11, small groups of balloons will launch from city parks. These balloon launches are scheduled more or less for the window between 7 and 7:30, again, weather permitting. No spectators will be permitted at the launch locations. The balloons are going to be widely spaced, and the balloon crews, of course, will be limited in size. So this approach will safely put balloons into the sky all across our city. First and foremost, I want to point out that our Balloon Fiesta Park is going to be open every day from the 3rd to the 11th for pilots to launch from this preferred location. In a normal year, the city of Albuquerque has the 86 acres that are the most beautiful acres in the world. And we want to make sure that pilots have access to the Balloon Fiesta Park to launch during what would normally be the Fiesta time period. So every day, pilots will be invited here to launch from Balloon Fiesta Park. There will be no park and ride service, of course, this year, or use of buses, because that would put folks together in confined spaces. And of course, there aren't going to be any sort of outdoor dining opportunities near the launch sites, again, as spectators won't be permitted at the launch locations. But with the right weather conditions and the winds, favorable winds, and our outstanding population of pilots here in our city, we look forward to the skies of Albuquerque being filled with color again this fall. Thank you very much. I'll turn it over to COO.
Thanks, Dave. And thank all of you for being here. A couple of things that I think are important to recognize, and that is that when the announcement was made that the fiesta was going to be postponed, obviously I know that I can speak for myself and my family. I mean, we were just really saddened by the decision, simply because it's such an amazing event. And I know that there's so many New Mexicans, so many folks here in Albuquerque that really are going to miss the event. And but obviously there are times, as the mayor has said on many occasions, this time of our life is very different. But it doesn't mean that we have to give up the entire idea of having balloons in the sky. So as Mr. Simon just described, we will be using city facilities to put balloons up in the air, and we are going to be coordinating, as we do during the Balloon Fiesta, with our respective departments. APD will be patrolling the areas where the balloons are going to be launched, so that we can ensure that we don't have traffic issues and that we don't have any violations of the governor's executive order and the mayor's order. Secondly, we'll have our solid waste department, our environmental health department, and even our Department of Municipal Development all on call to help support the efforts of getting these balloons up in the air and making sure that we do it in a safe and practical manner. I think the other piece I would say is that, as everyone has indicated, look, the Fiesta is a great opportunity for our hospitality industry that has really been hard hit with COVID-19, especially our hoteliers and our restaurants, etc. So as we go through the course of the Fiesta, obviously, for us locals who get a chance now to at least go out and buy something, continue to do that. Let's try and help that sector of our community, our economy, continue to work through these challenging times. But nonetheless, this is a great one Albuquerque spirit in putting this type of event together, and I think it'll help raise the spirits of all of us as we continue to work through COVID-19 and get creative about how we provide services and opportunities for the citizens of Albuquerque. So with that being said, Mr. Mayor, any other thoughts?
Thank you. Well, I would just wrap up by saying that if our great local balloonists are interested, and they haven't already heard, there is a website to register, right? So to make this happen and to do the logistics of spacing everyone out around the city, we do need to work a lot with the pilots. And so I think there's been various communications made and so forth, but just as a reminder, if you're a balloonist or a chase crew, there's a website. You can register on that website. Just call 311 for directions on how to do that. And that's how we're able to sort of organize this appropriately. And we do need balloonists to register. So I know, it's kind of our tradition to just, I'm on a chase crew, and we just take off wherever we feel like taking off. And, in some ways that's still the case. But to do this in a safe, organized way, we really would like to have everyone register. And so please help us with that. Okay, with that, I think we can take some questions. Yeah.
Do you already have some balloonists on board? If so, how many?
Question is, do we already have balloonists on board and how many? Dave Simon, do you want to speak a little bit to that?
So, thank you, Mayor. Yes, the Parks and Rec staff has had a liaison, a balloonist himself, who's been a liaison to the pilot community, and we work quite closely with Quad A organization, which represents a lot of local balloonists. So we've been alerting them, planning with them for these dispersed launch approaches, and I believe we already have several dozen balloonists who've raised their envelopes to say they're ready and excited to go to some of these launch locations, and more are actually signing up every day. So it's, as the mayor said, it's important that we just be able to accommodate the right number of balloonists at each launch location, but we are really excited that so many balloonists are indicating they want to fly.
And just a clarification about this launch site, I know you said there would be some balloons still launching from here. Spectators will not be allowed to come to this location, correct? They would just have to wait until the balloons go out to see them.
That's correct. There will be no spectators permitted at the launch locations. But here at Balloon Fiesta Park, this is an ideal location a lot of times for balloonists to launch when the winds are in the right shape. So we want to make sure that the pilots who are familiar and accustomed to launching from Balloon Fiesta Park can do so any morning that they'd like to. And a lot of times ballooning is a game day decision, and pilots put safety first. We want them to put safety first. So this is one of the places the pilots are most familiar with launching from. They understand the wind conditions and patterns, and we want to make sure the Balloon Fiesta Park is open to them. But we will not be able to permit spectators on site. But one of the nicest things about launching from Balloon Fiesta Park is once balloons are elevated here, they're very quickly visible around the city and the surrounding areas. So I think the public will really be able to enjoy balloons that launch from the park here as they would in a normal year.
And can you talk a little bit too, so we've been in contact with some out-of-town pilots who say that they're already signing up to be able to launch here, to do some balloon globes. I know the emphasis, it sounds like right now, is local pilots, but we're talking to pilots who have been talking to local pilots who are getting them on board to follow the public order, come into town, get tested. Talk about those out-of-towners.
So the questions about out-of-towners and so forth, and I'll let Dave Simon answer a few of those, but a couple of things that I want to note. We are very fortunate to have, we have a team, as Director Simon mentioned, working on this, but we do have, again, an individual, John Fitzpatrick, who's really coordinating this from the city perspective, and the balloonists, and we're fortunate he's a balloon owner himself, and so we are dealing with sort of those communications on a one-on-one basis. So I think it depends on like coming in from where. If they're coming in from Moriarty, I think we're okay with that. But obviously, if it's out of state, they have to follow all the state orders. So there is no exception being made to any state public health order. That means quarantine, that means testing, that means masks, and that means distancing, and all the other health orders. So that is first and foremost, and that's what we will use the registration process for to enforce. And so in terms of details of specific ones, Dave, do you want to add anything else?
Mayor, I think you've covered it.
Yeah.
Everyone who would be coming into the state is subject to our public health order.
Yeah.
And bouncing off that too, for the daily launches that hopefully get to happen here, weather permitting, how many staff will we have? Because we always have the people dressed up in the zebra colors, waving people around. I mean, there's still a lot of other people besides balloonists. So talk about staffing and keeping them COVID safe as well.
So the questions about staffing and how we're keeping them safe as well, and I think is a good reminder, this is an outdoor activity, so in general on the sort of risk profile, this looks very good because it's outdoors and it's spaced. And actually, I think from our staff's perspective, they're excited to be able to have something that is safe to do that's not working from home. But we have a lot of staff who are in different roles. And so we normally would have a staff helping with Balloon Fiesta, so we'll utilize them. We have the Balloon Fiesta Museum staff. We'll be able to utilize them. These are all existing folks. Similar to the way at community centers, which are closed to the public, we're using them to take care of kids for essential workers. So that's kind of the way we're doing it, is with the flexible staffing model. All the incremental staff that you would normally see, like the zebras, those run through, of course, the actual International Balloon Fiesta, and they're not staffing up for this, so those won't be in place for this. Anything else?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I would just add to the mayor's answer there that all those on-field staff, they're very important to manage a large balloon ascension event where you have thousands of people on the field. So they will not be critical to facilitating launches by individual pilots here at Balloon Fiesta Park. And those pilots, again, are quite skilled, and they're used to launching their balloons with their crews. And so I'm very confident that we'll have safe launching here with the expertise of the pilots. And we do have a very lean and mean staff here at Balloon Fiesta Park, and they're used to running a 360-acre facility. They do a great job with it, and what we will be doing is throwing down the welcome mat again for our balloonists, opening the gates for our balloonists, and making it possible for them to make the magic happen.
We were just talking about kind of, Balloon Fiesta history, and some of the folks who've done this in more detail would know, but, there have been years where we've launched 1,000 balloons from this field. We have some analytics on distancing and so forth. We're talking about like a couple of dozen max, so it's nothing compared to what you would be imagining. But it obviously is the largest grass acreage space in central New Mexico, so that's why we want to use it, but use it in a safe, distanced way, which is, literally like less than 20% of what it normally would, at least, if not 10%. Yeah. Those numbers work, Dave? Yeah.
Are literally all city parks, open spaces, and golf courses open to this, or have you created a list of ones that you're targeting?
So we have created a list. So, we're open to folks' requests, but obviously, and balloonists know this too, like trees are a problem and, all of this. So we have kind of preferred sites. And balloonists have always used their judgment on whether or not, like, this is a safe place to launch from. So we would never force anyone to launch from anywhere they didn't want to. But yeah, we've got a short list of different locations, especially golf courses, because they're more spread out. And then they need to find landing places too. So all of those are taken into account. But the good news is our local balloonists, they know the town. So we're not having to tell them, like, where Bullhead Park is and why that's probably not the best site because it's right next to an Air Force base.
Do you know how long that list is? I mean, are we talking 25 spots?
I can mention some of the top
Sure.
parks, if that's all right, Mayor. Yeah. So some of the the question is about some of the preferred launch locations around town, and we again we do this with being informed and with partnership with the pilots and the Pilots Association. So some of the preferred launch locations at the top of the list will be places like, of course, Balloon Fiesta Park, North Domingo, Baca Park, Vista del Norte Park, also on the west side, Mariposa Basin Park, and Ventana Ranch Park.
All right, others? Yep.
Mayor, switching gears, are you able to give us a statement on the decision made earlier today in the Breonna Taylor case?
I'm always happy to answer the question. I'll just say that I saw kind of the news headline, so I'm not too familiar with the details. But just from my perspective, it seems surprising and it doesn't really make sense to me. But again, I'm not a lawyer, as I think people know, and I haven't read in detail. But I think it's certainly not at all something that I would have expected and seems totally out of step with everything that we're trying to fix in our country. All right. Thanks, everybody.
you guys?
Good, how are you?
How are you doing?
Doing good. Living life.
Living life. Good